Welcome to Tactical Man. I appreciate you stopping by. So, you just went out and bought yourself a Glock 19, took it to the range, fired some rounds. Now you're trying to figure out how to clean it and lube it. Stay tuned. That's right, dudes. Today we're taking a look on how to clean and lube. Actually, it's just how I clean and lube my Glock 19. This video is aimed more towards the new firearm owner. If you're a seasoned veteran and you don't really want to sit here and watch me clean and lube a Glock 19, we'll catch you in the next video, dude. However, if you do want to watch, continue watching. Maybe you might learn something you didn't know before, or maybe you can teach me something by leaving a comment down in the comment section below. Either way, let's go down the table. Let's get this joker that you just got. I didn't just get this one, but the one you just got, let's get it cleaned up, lubed up, and ready for the next range trip. Words are hard. Before we get started, let's go ahead and clear the firearm. You could already tell it was clear because the trigger was depressed, but the firearm is clear. Remove the magazine. Send it home. There we go. We're going to set it down for a second because we're going to go over a few basic things. Obviously, you want a nice cool towel. You want a nice towel to prevent your table from getting pretty nasty. You're also going to use a rag. A t-shirt will work just fine. In the cleaning aspect, you can go ahead and use a solvent. Right here, Hops number 9. I've used this for a long time. This is my go-to solvent. I love it. I use it on everything, even Arsenal. Those of you seasoned veterans out there will know what I'm talking about. Some other people choose to use a CLP, break-free CLP, cleaning, lubricating. Slippery when wet, right? Yeah, it's wet. It's very slippery, actually. This, to me, takes a little more effort to clean. I typically use CLPs, not necessarily this CLP, but other CLPs out there, just for lubrication, not cleaning. All right, put that up. And here's another one, Slip 2000. This is really good lube, man. I really like this lube a lot. All right, they don't pay me for that or anything. Some people like to run grease. I truly love running grease. I have this grease right here from Slip 2000, EWG Extreme Weapons Grease. This vat right here is like, I don't know, 2 years old, and it's still daggone full. Obviously, you're gonna need a cleaning rod. This comes with the Glock. And the Glocks also come with a bore brush. I don't really use it. It's plastic, doesn't work very well. I use brass bristle brushes. Just go ahead and screw down there, right there. All right. And you're also going to need some patches to run down your bore. All right, let's break her down and get to cleaning, gents. Send it home. You did verify it was clear. Pull back just a little bit, and you get your takedown levers right here. Right there on both sides. Grab it, pull back just a little bit, pull down on the takedown, I'm trying to stay in, and you slide forward, just like that. And she slides right off, right? Let's go ahead and remove the spring and the barrel. Now, gents, I didn't do a whole lot of firing, so she's not too dirty. Not too dirty. I mean, my hands are getting a little dirty. There's the barrel. All right. And the slide. It's not all that dirty. This thing actually has quite a few rounds for as little amount of wear as it has. Me personally, one of the things I like to do that speeds up the process is grab a rag and wipe everything down. Wipe all that carbon off of there. If you tend to, if you go ahead and start throwing solvent on there, then you just start making a mess and a carbon mess everywhere. So there's actually quite a bit that just wipes off, and then you just use the solvent for the stubborn stuff. Right? It just saves on mess and actually speeds up the cleanup because you're not really brushing. Look at all that extra I just got out of there. So if I would have put solvent on there, it would have just been a dirty mess everywhere. So keep that in mind if you want to speed things up just a little bit. It's still going to take time, The most enjoyable part of shooting a gun to me is actually cleaning it. I love cleaning weapons, except ARs. They can be a pain in the butt sometimes. Pistols, man, if you once you get down into it, if you're not one of the seasoned veterans, if you are one of the people that just bought it, once you get the hang of it, I say 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And let's grab this one, wipe down the rails, wipe down all the metal. Now that we got the wipe down out of the way, where I like to start is the barrel itself. Let's get our hops. Now this is going to be very difficult for me not to get this to splash all over the lens, so I'm going to be doing it in a direction, kind of holding it like this, so when it pops out, I'll show you when it pops out of here, it's not spraying solvent everywhere, but just dip your brush. All right, you got a little bit on there, get it in there. Let's get this actually out of the way. Down and back, down and back. You always want to go from the chamber. You don't want to go from the muzzle, and you can, but there's chances you might mess up the crown if your barrel has a crown or whatnot. All right, so just back and forth, rinse and repeat. And that lubes up all that carbon that's stuck inside the bore, stuck in the rifling. Give it a dip. So you see, it's going right through and right back, right through, right back. Look at that. It's just puking out of there. Now wipe it off. Take your brush off. If your cleaning rod doesn't have an eyelet built into it, put the eyelet attachment on it and put a patch on. And my first patch I run through after, like, I don't know if it's going to show in there or not. Get some white down in there. Woo. You see how glossy it is in there? It's because I got the solvents in there eating it up. If you got some really stubborn carbon in there, you can let the solvent sit for a few minutes and try to eat up on it if you get tired of running the brush through there. But now it's just, I always dunk the first patch in some solvent, run it through. You can see she's a little dirty. Come back one more time and come back. Take a look. Let's run a dry patch, see how the dry patch comes out. Dry patch. Not so bad. So typically, depending on the amount of ammo that you've fired, we're not going to sit here and clean the entire bore of this barrel. We're going to speed this video along. We're already at 8 minutes. But typically, you will, once you do that dry patch, run the brush through it again with some more. Run another wet patch, dry patch, see how, and just keep repeating until you get it clean. If you are new to this, do not get discouraged if you've been cleaning that bore for a while. Especially if you went out shooting a bunch of ammo, right? Say you did a couple thousand rounds without cleaning it, it's going to be a pain to get that clean. All right, little stubborn areas, so you just take a little bit of solvent on a toothbrush and scrub any little carbon areas you might have, any little stubborn carbon areas. She's actually looking pretty good. Take the rag and wipe it down. I do apologize if I'm not staying in frame for all of this, gents. But now you wipe all that solvent off. She's looking pretty good. We're going to set that to the side. Now on to the slide. Here, gents, you want to use solvent. Right on the slides, dude, I use a little bit of solvent. Like, I barely dipped the tip of that brush in there. I don't know if it's even going to show. Woo. I barely dipped the tip of that in there because I really don't want solvent gumming up all the carbon and dripping down into the internals there. So not a whole lot. You can see, maybe, just a little bit. get in the rails on the sides. See if we can't get this in a little bit closer. Get the rails on the sides, inside the slide. And you'd be surprised how far the hops goes. I mean, it's, look at that. I don't know if that's gonna focus or not. She's definitely dirty in there, right? So now you've loosened up all the carbon. You definitely want to get in here. You definitely want to get right in here where your striker comes right on out, your firing pin, right? So there you go. She is nasty, dudes. But yeah, if you're using a CLP, it's not gonna break free as easily as that with the solvent. But now you just get your rag, come through and wipe it all out. And depending, again, on how dirty your firearm is, depends on how many times you have to do this. Again, remember, me personally, I do not want puddles and puddles of solvent mixing with carbon, dripping down in here, gumming everything up. This is a beginner video, so we are not going to talk about taking apart this whole striker channel and taking all that out. We're not going to do that. This is a beginner video. I'd like you to get a few more rounds through your pistol before you do that. And she's looking pretty clean. Again, I'm looking at it through a viewfinder, so if it is a little bit dirty, she'll pass. All right. Now let's take a look at the bottom. The bottom here towards the lower, the frame, there's a lot of parts in here, and I 100% do not recommend taking any of this apart, especially if you are new. I mean, if you're a seasoned veteran, obviously you know how to take it apart and put your own trigger in. But if you're a new guy, 100% without a doubt, do not mess with taking any of this apart. You don't need to. You really don't have to do much cleaning. Give it a wipe down. This, depending on how much you fired, might be really nasty. Give her a wipe down. Look at that. That's perfectly acceptable and clean. Doesn't take a whole lot. Some people like to use a brake cleaner, the chlorine-free brake cleaner, and spray it in there. If you do that, you do have to make sure you recoat some of these parts and springs inside here with some oil, because brake cleaner does remove all the oils. But if you're not doing that, you do not really want to put any oil down in there, right? We'll get to the lubing in just a second. Spring, give the spring a wipe down, and that's all you need to do. All right, dudes, now you have a clean pistola. Now it's time to lube it. Lube it on down. There's two things I usually use: grease or CLP, and oil. Doesn't matter which one you use, dudes. We're not going to get into that argument of what's better, what's not. These are two that I use right here, two that work very well. All right, lubing the exterior of the barrel, depending on what I'm going to do, right? If I know I'm going to go have a hard charging day at the range with it and put 1,000 rounds minimum through it, I'm going to put some grease on the exterior of the barrel. If I'm just going to be carrying it for concealed carry or a light range day or what have you, I'm just going to put some CLP on there. To put the CLP on the barrel, you would just put a little bit on a patch and wipe it across there until you got a nice sheen over it. Now, if you are going to grease the exterior of your barrel, do not glob it down. Don't take all that much on a toothpick and just smear it all over the place. Just put a couple dabs. Ooh, see that right there? That right there is probably a little too much. Let's get some of that off of there. See how little is on there, gents? And just run your grease around. Now, why I like grease a little bit more than oil, especially on barrels and moving parts, is it creates a protective film, dudes. Like this Glock 19, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm well over 2,500 rounds. Yeah, I don't think so, though. I mean, looking at the finish, you would think it was brand new, but that's because I run grease on it a lot, right? Woo-wee. Get some grease, good to go. Lubing up the slide, gents. Again, you don't want all kinds of oil. Let me get in here. Again, you don't want all kinds of oil getting down in the channel and whatnot. And there's really only one spot on the slide that I typically lube up, and that's just right here on this little knob that picks up, and just put a tiny bit, dudes. It picks up the next round and rides over the top of the round. And then maybe a little bit on your safety plunger right there. But as you guys can see, it wasn't a whole lot that I put on there. Not a whole lot at all. Put your barrel back in the slide. Get your spring. Put your spring back on. Now we're going to talk about the frame. Gents, if you take a look, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 rails on this frame. Take a little bit of grease. This is what I do. Okay, you could put oil on there, but oil dries up and burns off really quickly. If you put oil on there and conceal carry it for 3 months and then you go to the range, which no one should be doing that. You should be going to the range at least once a month. Come on. Your oil is going to dry up on you. It's still going to run because it's Glock, but if it's something else, it's not going to run very well. Okay, just put a little dab of grease on the tops of the rails and then up under the rail. You do not want a lot. You don't need a lot. All right, and then I tend to always put some on this little ejector right there. All right, so let's take a look. You see how little amount of grease is on there. Just 2 little dabs on there. And 2 little dabs back there. Now, you just rub them in. Coat the metal. You don't want any grease getting down in there. You're going to jam things up in your springs and whatnot, especially after heavy firing. If you have a little bit left on your finger, like a little bit of residue, you can rub it on your locking block if you wanted to. Helps keep the parts shiny. A little bit right there. Does it look like it's got a bunch of grease on it, dudes? Not at all. Not at all. And last but not least, let's go ahead and put it back together because we are done. We have now cleaned and lubed our Glock 19. It is ready. Woo, zoom back out. It is ready to go have some fun. Does it look all oily? Nope. Does it look like it has oil dripping off of it? Can you tell there's grease all over it? Nope. But she is going to run like a champ. Remember, if you use grease, less is better. Less is more, I guess, is the saying. Choose what you want to do. Grease for more extreme running and oil for the casual shooter. I highly suggest trying out both. Let's go back up and close this video out, dudes. So there we are, dudes. A nice, clean, ready to go Glock 19. Dudes, if you learned something from this video, let me know in the comment section down below. If you think I could go ahead and learn something from you, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you dislike the video, make sure you hit that dislike button twice, dude. Give that thumbs down twice. Do it twice. I'm telling you. Gives you a cookie. Also, make sure you subscribe. And if you feel like supporting the channel, because YouTube, although it does give me a couple of pennies per ad that plays, it's not paying the bills, that's for sure. It's definitely not paying for the channel itself. So if you do want to support the channel, click on one of the affiliate links in the description down below. Helps me get more bullets, more pow pow, pew pew for you and me. See you in the next video, dudes.